Blake is convinced that Mars is the killer.
Not you. I thought there was some evidence to that effect.
That's true. But it just doesn't make sense. His psychological profile doesn't fit.
You know who else didn't fit the profile? Scott Shelby. But that's exactly who the killer turns out to be. Making the killer the person whom you least suspect is a bedrock tradition of the whodunit, but this becomes a serious problem when a player has control over the character's actions. Shelby being the killer is contrary to how I chose to play that character in the game, and as my first run-through was spent trying to make him act the way I honestly thought his character would, this makes it all the more heinous of a reveal. It didn't matter how I chose to play that character because they were going to make the killer whoever they wanted, whenever they wanted, however they wanted. So what was the point of all that decision making in the first place? Adding to this is the fact that when you start backtracking, you realize that Shelby's role in the game now makes little sense. Essentially, we are to believe that he accompanied Lauren to track down and remove his own evidence. But he could have easily done this on his own without bringing her along, and the only reason she was involved at all is because he went to her in the first place. This is not even the worst part of this reveal. Red herrings are of course expected in a story such as this, but there comes a point in the game where it's just plain cheating you out of a key piece of information. At one point, you as Shelby go with Lauren to a shop to try and track down a lead, and you go about your business in real time in the game. But in the flashback scene, it is revealed that Shelby actually killed the shopkeeper while you, the player, were controlling him. The game did not let you see this when you were in control of Shelby, and so the whole thing was simply a betrayal of the gameplay experience. I don't care if you are writing a book, movie, or video game. If you don't give us a fair chance at figuring it out in a whodunit, you may as well not even bother making it a mystery in the first place. Every part of Shelby being the killer just feels wrong, and once you get to the end of the story and start backtracking about it, all the tiny errors and plot holes start coming out of the woodwork. I have absolutely no idea how Jason died. Not only did Ethan turn him away from the car, but the car itself seemed to be putting along at a brisk 10 miles an hour. And what's worse is that they actually slowed this scene down to make it look more dramatic, which makes it abundantly clear that it would almost be physically impossible for Jason to have died in this way. What was Ethan doing standing outside with an origami figure in the first place? Apparently just to throw the audience off. Little mistakes like this thread through the entire game and slowly erode the story once the game is complete. Like a hunk of Swiss cheese, there is plenty to bite into here. It's simply full of an enormous amount of holes. The gameplay in Heavy Rain is all over the map. By far it stands out the most during fight scenes, escape scenes, and moments where you are running in pursuit of another individual. It is during these moments where it truly feels like the idea of an interactive movie is actually working. If you've ever had a moment in a film where you wanted so badly for a cop to catch a predator or for a damsel in distress to escape her captor that you wish you could jump in yourself and make it happen, you will start to understand what the game makers are trying to do in these moments. These things will either be pulled off or not based on how you play the game. Reaction time and quick reflexes are key, and it is at these moments where I found myself sitting on the edge of my seat or standing while I flung that controller every which way. I will catch this son of a bitch. I am going to get Lauren out of this car. I will make the story end well for everyone whom I control. The game's attempt to be an interactive movie succeeds in these moments at all times, and the interest in where the story is going eventually blends beautifully with these parts of the gameplay. You are not writing this story for them, rather you are working to see how their story ends by playing your way. This is the good news. The bad news is that the tutorial sections in the opening never seem to stop as the game goes on. Quite frankly, there are moments in this game that we simply do not need to watch or do. Filler is no stranger to video games or films, but these moments in the game represent the worst of both worlds. The dialogue also suffers from time to time. Being given the power of choice, you have the option on occasion to respond in different ways to other players, but the game does not always compensate for the changes in dialogue, and some of the characters will repeat the same lines no matter what you say to them, whether those lines make any sense in response or not.
Your vast experience hasn't prevented 8 victims from being murdered. Fucking asshole!
I came here to find a killer, and that is exactly what I'm gonna do, with or without your help.
Fucking asshole!
However, there is a consistent amount of tension in playing Heavy Rain, and this is due in large part to the fact that your characters can die. The game does not offer you a reset option when this happens. It will continue with the remaining characters in various ways until the game ends, and everyone's story can end differently depending on who makes it through and who doesn't. Consistency errors still persist in this case. For example, Madison will have virtually every character's number on her cell phone at the end of the game, whether she should or not, but the overall experience positively trumps these minor hiccups in the plot, and you will find yourself coming back to Heavy Rain for multiple playthroughs just to see what endings you may have missed the first time around. Motion-controlled gameplay may seem better suited for a Wii game than with the 6-axis controller of the PlayStation, but Heavy Rain's controls actually put you into the game far better than any Wii game I have played to date. Every action you perform on the controller matches the character's actions perfectly, and everything feels right, save for thrusting the controller to the side. In those moments, I had a hard time getting the controller to register my actions. Fortunately, the game now features move support, and while I don't personally own it, the reports have been that these minor problems are fixed with ease. The gameplay may be all over the place, but the strengths it possesses certainly outweigh the shortcomings. You will certainly have your share of filler activities in order to extend the length of the game, but this can be forgiven in light of the moments where Heavy Rain shines. When it drags, but when it works fantastic. The gameplay is absolutely nailed. What is Heavy Rain? Is it a video game wrapped in a movie? Is it a movie wrapped in a video game? Or does it capture the best of both worlds? As I have been reviewing this game, I have come to realize that I have been describing a video game far more than a film, and that perhaps puts this game's place in perfect perspective. While a valiant attempt has been made to make a truly interactive movie, Heavy Rain is, far more often than not, a video game with movie-like qualities. Those moments where the interactive movie is truly captured comes in starts and stops. As a video game, Heavy Rain is certainly a unique experience and a great deal of fun to play, but I cannot honestly say that I feel the interactive movie has been invented with Heavy Rain. Has this game opened the door for more game developers jumping on the interactive bandwagon? I think not. And while I can't say for sure, my suspicion is that we will certainly see a long line of Halo and Killzone sequels before we ever see a Heavy Rain 2. A shame, as one of the endings left it completely open to a sequel. As this game took a mind-boggling 3 years to complete, one cannot scoff at the effort that has gone into this game. The problem, as I see it, is simply in trying to bite off more than they could chew. Trying to make a good movie requires attention to many specific aspects of that art, while trying to make a good game requires attention to elements tailored to something entirely different. Combining these two elements into a satisfactory product would likely take a village, and it's possible that what we got with Heavy Rain is about the best that we could hope for. The game is good. It's one of my favorite games for the PS3. But as a movie-video game hybrid, it contains the best and worst of both worlds. Sony, Quantic Dream, and writer-director David Cage should be proud of what they have achieved here, but perhaps this would be a good time to quit while they're ahead.